The streets of Chicago thrive with life. In a city so diverse, people of all kinds walk amongst one another, but unfortunately, that means monsters often cross paths with the innocent, with devastating and horrific results. In 2016, a high school freshman was brutally murdered not far from his home in Chicago's Austin neighborhood. Today on Dark Matters, the death of Demetrius Griffin, Jr. In September 2016, 15-year-old Demetrius Griffin Jr. recently passed another milestone in his life. He'd entered into high school at Steinmetz College Prep, where he was enthusiastic about what lay ahead, according to his lifelong friend, 13-year-old Cordarius Thomas. From accounts of former teachers, Demetrius was always excited about school, if not for the academics, then for his friends. A former 6th grade substitute teacher at Milton Brunson School in Chicago had Demetrius in his math and science class for 11 weeks, and he recalled him being somewhat of a class clown. James McCormack, in a blog post, said Demetrius, quote, possessed a winning smile and very little of the meanness some of the other boys possessed. Demetrius was a charmer, but being the smallest boy in the class, he needed to be. He used his charm and his wits to navigate a world where a tough life created tough kids, and tough kids created a tough life. That was the type of kid he was. Another of Demetrius's former middle school teachers, David Powell, saw Demetrius's interests in math, and he planned to help the young man lean into that talent. Of his former pupil, he said, Griffin had average school problems, but nothing serious. He had a big smile, a big heart. Local church leaders recalled him being a typical teenager, one who attended church faithfully and had been baptized earlier in his life. The adolescent, with his striking blue eyes and mischievous charm, seemed to capture the heart of anyone who crossed paths with him. His mother, Polly Sykes, described him as respectful, a child who stayed out of trouble, who enjoyed walking his neighbors' dogs. His mother, aunt, and sister often referred to him by his nickname, Nunny, and knew him to be gentle and funny. A member of his local Boys and Girls Club, Demetrius recently took an interest in swimming and was hoping to try out for his school's team soon. Tragically, someone stole that opportunity from him just 2 weeks after he began high school. Demetrius lived with his family in West Chicago's Austin neighborhood, and he had a strict curfew that he abided by like clockwork. On Friday, September 16, 2016, after school, Demetrius walked toward home with a female friend, but the two parted ways several blocks from his residence. Demetrius never made it home that night, and immediately when he missed curfew, his mother, Polly, quote, knew something was wrong. The hours ticked by without word from her son. Demetrius was nowhere to be found. Then, at 1:25 a.m. on September 17th, emergency responders rushed to an alley on the 5500 block of West Cortez in response to a garage fire, 2 blocks away from Demetrius's home. However, when they arrived, they found more than just flames. A teenager was stuffed inside the burning recycling bin, and not long after, investigators confirmed that this was the body of Demetrius Griffin Jr. After pronouncing Demetrius dead at 5 a.m., police held a press conference on morning television. Soon, local news outlets were at the scene, and Polly Sykes' stomach sank at the commotion. She said, "To come out and see the news trucks and to hear about a body burning and my son is not home, it destroyed me." It took a month for the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office to deliver the autopsy results to the police. Demetrius perished of thermal injuries from the fire he was found in, meaning the young boy was burned alive. On October 19th, just over 1 month after Demetrius's body was discovered, police released this information to the public, ruling his death a homicide. They urged anyone with information to come forward and said that Demetrius's killer or killers possibly sustained burns from committing the horrific murder. CBS 2 spoke with Demetrius's grandfather, who claimed the boy had also been shot in the back of the head. However, I want to make it clear that authorities did not mention this, and only one source reported this claim, so I can't confirm its validity, but I thought it should be included nonetheless. The family's worst nightmare was realized. Devastation, grief, and confusion swirled within the family and surrounding community as, according to Polly, the neighborhood was charmed with her son. Everyone loved Demetrius. That's why I don't understand why someone would do like this to hurt him. He wasn't gang-affiliated. He wasn't into the streets like that. Demetrius's problem was that he loved everyone and he trusted everyone. A vigil was held for Demetrius on September 20th, just days after he was discovered, and dozens turned out to lend their support for the grieving family, who took the opportunity to plead for the killers or someone who knew something to come forward.
Community, I need your help. They killed my baby out here in this alley. I need somebody, you know something. Please come forward. They took my life. He was a gang member.
That's right.
He was a very respectful kid. He walked everybody in the neighborhood dogs.
Don't turn your back this time, y'all. We really need to find this solution for real.
It wasn't just family grieving, though. Cordarius Thomas, Demetrius's lifelong friend, spoke out at the vigil. He stayed out of trouble, didn't mess with nobody. I can't eat, sleep, do nothing. Local church leaders also spoke at the vigil and helped those who attended pass out flyers in the surrounding neighborhoods that showed the $2,500 reward for information in Demetrius's case, which was raised by the Leaders Network, a social justice group. Then, Chicago church leaders enlisted the help of an anonymous Oak Brook businessman who added $5,000 more to the pool of the search. The donor said of his generous contribution, "My heart goes out to the mom. I want to help get that killer off the streets." The reward eventually climbed to $10,000 for information, where it currently sits as of the release of this video. Unfortunately, over a year later, it seems police are no closer to finding out who killed young Demetrius, and publicly, they haven't revealed if there's any new leads. The case seems to have gone cold. And with a lack of answers and evidence comes an abundance of theories. Some have suggested gang activity, but Demetrius's family has been adamant that he was not involved in any such activity, and friends insisted he stayed out of trouble. But the family has their ideas about the horrible fate that befell Demetrius, maybe a case of mistaken identity. They also acknowledge the possibility that, while he wasn't in a gang, he could have been the victim of a gang initiation, which sometimes asks potential members to kill to prove their loyalty. It's also possible that Demetrius refused to be involved with the gang and was murdered in revenge. Then there's always the possibility that this was a cruel, random act of violence. Regardless, the echoes of the heinous murder continue to affect his family, and likely will, until they receive answers.
I told him I would always protect him. I would never let nothing happen to him. It eats me up on a daily basis that I can hear him screaming for me, and I could do nothing.
I need justice for my son, and that's the only way my process of healing will start.
Demetrius's gentle nature made the acceptance of his murder all the more difficult on the Austin community. Walter Jones, a reverend at New Mount Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church, spoke out on the atrocity, saying, "This is not normal. We don't want to become desensitized with what's coming, but right now these things are happening so rapidly. It's kind of hard not to worry about what's going on in our communities these days." Ashake Banks, a friend of the family, echoed these sentiments. "These are not TV monsters, video game monsters. They're like the devil. They're out of control. They don't care, and they don't respect human life." The family and community have held periodic vigils since Demetrius's death to ensure that his case remains in the public eye and hoping someone will eventually come forward. His aunt, Rochelle Sykes, called for a, quote, breaking of the code of silence, saying that, "We have a monster out there. Nobody's child is safe." While the family may be without their youngest member, they hold out hope that someday Demetrius will have justice and that the healing can begin for the hole his murder left in their lives. Perhaps his former teacher, James McCormack, summed it up best in his blog post. In physics, it is said that nothing is ever destroyed, it simply changes form. I cling to the idea that the playful sparkle that existed in his eyes and in his spirit lives on in some other form, somehow continuing to echo through the universe. He was a typical little boy, and an extraordinary one as well. Demetrius Griffin Jr.'s murder is still under investigation, but there is no known leads, and there have been no arrests. Police believe the only way the case will move forward is if someone who knows or saw something that day speaks up. Authorities believe the killer or killers possibly burned themselves in the process of the killing and, therefore, possibly sought medical attention following the act of violence. If you have information regarding Demetrius's murder or the circumstances that led to it, please contact the Area North Violent Crimes Unit of the Chicago PD at 312-744-8261. Special thanks to the Patreon family. The names you see on screen are just some of the people who financially contribute to this channel. Whether they are passionate about cases like Demetrius Griffin Jr.'s or the other dark content on this channel, their support cannot be overstated. If you are interested in supporting the channel, information is in the description, but even if you only continue to support by watching, thank you. Thank you for giving Demetrius's case a moment of your time, and my heart goes out to his family and friends whose suffering most of us can't even begin to comprehend. We all hope for answers and justice someday, and no matter what you choose to believe or what you speculate, I ask you only for respect in the comments below, and remember, though these may be dark matters, the darkness always matters. Thank you for watching the video. Exposure to cases such as Demetrius's is highly important. Thank you for all your continued support and for always receiving these cases openly and respectfully. Stay safe, friends, and have a good night.